So just a final test there. Taking the salute of the crowd, nice warm applause.
Referee, start the fight.
Straight away then, Claire, you can see the difference with the foil weapon as opposed to the sabre we saw last night. It's that much more tactical, that the bout's take an awful lot longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I must say men's foil is extremely fast as well. But yes, I mean, sabre is just straight out of the blocks. You've got no time to think about it. You've just got to commit to your actions and go for it. Whereas, you know, with foil fencing, I suppose there is more time to really think about your hits, think tactically, and also prepare for the hit ahead. And it is, like I said before, you know, it's very important to consciously decide your hit, and, you know, really be on the ball. Seems to be quite a slow start between these, so I wonder if it's a nice attack there. And I'll tell you what, Nick, it's no easy feat to do that. I mean, the height difference between these two is quite incredible. He's really going to have to... Zhang is really going to have to apply pressure and get very close distance in order to get that attack on.
Jie Wu, the more experienced fighter, and he's a coach across all three of the disciplines as well, so you're going to think he's going to have a pretty good handle on any tactics that might get thrown at him. Yeah, sure. I mean, that hit just then was very interesting. He got very close quarters again, and just as Wu was about to prepare, he stepped in, and he's just so quick. He's just like a little terrier dog getting in there quick. Very, very impressive, actually. First point into Jie Wu, and something that's happening, we noticed with Zhang's fights earlier on in the day, that he very much favours that right-hand side of the piece.
Yeah, he does. Some fencers prefer to be on certain sides of the piece for whatever reason. Some fencers even move from side to side of the piece, and that's actually to distract your opponent quite often. So, you know, he's obviously very comfortable on that right side of the piece, but he has to be careful not to come off the piece, because if you have both feet off the piece, you then have to take a metre backwards, which can be dangerous if you're near the back line, because that would be a hit against you. Very nice straight attack there from the right.
And you'll notice, if you've been with us for the last couple of days, that tonight we do have the referees mic'd up as well, so if there's any more contentious decisions, we'll be able to hopefully explain a little bit about what's going on, because it's, as I say, if you're new to the sport, it's perhaps not the easiest thing to get involved with.
No, you know, there are lots of rules and regulations, and you know, we were talking about this over the last 2 days, of the kind of right-of-way rule, which is often quite confusing for non-fencers. So hopefully we'll make it a little bit easier.
And teach you a little bit of French on the way.
Oh, lovely quick attack. See what I was saying about that explosivity? It's these sudden bursts of energy that actually it really catches you off guard. And I think that's going to be the making of him, because he just needs to be a bit careful where he's preparing and doing long preparations. His opponent can, because he's got such a long reach, he can just stick his arm out and get him on preparation. So he really needs to control that and find his moment to attack. As soon as he sees an opening, he needs to go. Oh, look at that. Zhang went for the attack, he got parried, and his opponent went for a flick hit on the back, which missed, and he got a quick remise in. These flick hits are quite difficult to get on nowadays because they changed the dwell time in the flick hits to go from 1 millisecond to 15 milliseconds, which means it's harder to get your flick hit on. And the reason they did that was because they wanted, fencing was becoming a bit of a showman sport where everyone was flicking on the back and around the side, and they kind of wanted to slow down the sport and make it a bit more traditional looking with straight line attacks and not so many of the flick hits. But you know, that's cool. In actual fact, that's caused a lot of fencers who are, well, especially foilers, who are worried about attacking in case of missing their hit, and also a lot more counter attacks. So it's kind of pros and cons to that rule change.
So we've just entered the first break. Then we've got about 35 seconds, and it's a 5-3 lead to Zhang. And we've talked about this for the last couple of days as well. It's a very long day for them, and you can physically see that, you know, they begin to struggle because these bouts are a little bit longer as well, unlike the sabre, which is very much sort of smash and grab type stuff, I suppose, and the much shorter fights. These guys are beginning to feel the pace about now, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It's such long days, not just physically but emotionally. It's emotionally draining. You know, you're constantly getting yourself up for more and more fights throughout the day. And you know, 3 times 3 minutes, like a boxing fight, really, it's tiring. And people don't realise fencing is so aerobic.
I mean, particularly if you fight the way Zhang does, which is very lively on the balls of his feet, and as you say, kind of moving constantly. It's going to be, the fitness levels need to be extremely high. Absolutely,
and not just that, Nick. The concentration levels also need to be really high.
Here we go. The second period about to get underway. Just a 2-point lead to Zhang on the right-hand side of your screens.
There again, he needs to be careful. He's sort of attacked kind of just out of distance. He wasn't using that close distance that he was before. And of course, his opponent was able to move out of the way and kind of just stick his arm out. Yeah, nice. That was almost on. He got a parry post off target. Now the off target is the arms and the legs and the mask, just the torso area which is target in foil fencing. Attack is no, the referee calls halt, so the red light came after halt, so there's no hit. Still, both fences are a little cagey, kind of still not wanting to commit too much. Yeah, so attack was no, and then parry pass was good from the right. It's at 6-4.
Both men seemingly struggling to take the initiative in this one. Zhang still with that narrow lead.
Yeah, I think it must be really hard for both of them because they both come from the same fencing club. They obviously train with each other day in, day out, and
I think I'm right in saying actually Jie Wu had actually coached Zhang for a little while as well, so it's going to make it very difficult. The master and the novice, I suppose, but I mean, Zhang himself, he's still a fairly young guy, 24 years old. He's been ranked top 4 in Singapore since 2009, so he's been there about, and as you say, they're going to know each other extremely well. Singapore's foil team could be quite handy, I suspect. Yeah,
they look pretty strong to me, and again, they'd have lots of experience on the international circuit, doing lots of FIE competitions, so yeah, of course, they're going to be used to fencing on stages and fencing under these conditions. Oh, lovely attack, just off target. So he's got to do these flying attacks really, where he just completely commits to them and makes sure he gets his point on because he can't fall short. He's got to get his point on. Nice, again, good timing, just off target.
And he's still pressing forward, obviously not happy with just that very slender lead he has.
That was clever. He saw his opponent move forward, and he obviously didn't have time to pick up the parry, so he did a quick counter-attack, which made it very awkward for his opponent to hit him. I think with counter-attacks, you know, quite often fencers rely a lot on counter-attacks, and they have to be careful not to do that. They have to be very selective with the counter-attack move and be kind of proactive with it rather than reactive. And in this case, I thought that was a very well-timed counter-attack. This looks like it's going to go all the way to the 9 minutes, this fight. Yeah, attack no there from the right, and Wu managed to get the counter-attack there.
Yeah, Zhang just wanting to make sure there was nothing amiss there with the vest.
Yeah, he was just checking to see if his point was registering. He probably thought he hit, but didn't come up. Nice, beautiful attack. Now that was really well timed.
Yeah, just 2 seconds left in the second period as well. Timely attack by Zhang, and there goes step off. Yes, we've talked a little bit about the level of technology that's involved in fencing, and that must weigh on your mind if you're not in a good place, I suppose, and you're maybe not hitting when you thought you've hit, and you begin to question the technology, whether it's working properly. Is that something that plays on a fencer's mind a little bit?
It can do sometimes, yeah. I mean, I remember going to the fencing shop every time before a fencing competition because I was actually very pernickety about my equipment, my kit, because you have to be. If your foil comes up off target in the middle of the match, it's your responsibility, and it could cost you a hit. We just saw Keith Cook fence Fitzgerald earlier. He had to change his kit because he had very sweaty kit, and the problem was he started to conduct on his off-target areas. So when Fitzy was hitting him on his arm, a light was coming up. So nowadays, particularly the men's foils, and sorry boys, they do sweat more than the girls. But particularly with men's foil, they bring out up to 3 sets of kit when they're fencing abroad and at World Cup competitions and at major champs. Because of that problem. So
I mean, I suppose it's a bit like my golf game. You know, you blame the dodgy equipment rather than your own ability. Is that right?
Well, I don't know about that, Nick. Maybe. Not sure if it's all the equipment, is it?
Of course not. Let's go. We're just about to start the third and final period. Then there's just a narrow 2-point lead for Zhang over his countryman Jie Wu.
Lovely, well-timed attack there. It's the first time we've seen Wu really press Zhang right to the back line, and perhaps this is a tactic he's now going to take. Perhaps he's going to be a bit more pressing in this final period. Certainly looks like he's being slightly more aggressive now, Wu. Again, perhaps going to. Very well timed. Talking about a well-timed counter-attack, that was a lovely hit.
Just ended with his back to his opponent there and just managed to turn his wrist round to make that strike.
Yeah, that was perfectly executed, I must say. Nice, very good parry pass. We're just talking about kind of, we don't see very many flick hits. It used to be my favourite hit, a flick hit to shoulder. And I love seeing hits like that. It's something very satisfying when a fencer does a really nice flick hit.
Something quite flamboyant about it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, Keith Cook is very good at that as well. He's a bit of a showman, does lots of jump hits, flick hits around the side to the shoulder, and it can look fantastic.
Lovely lunge there by Zhang. Gives himself a 3-point lead now with just 2:15 left in this final period.
Yeah, he seems to be a little bit more comfortable and maybe sort of playing around a little bit more with his actions. There's another counter-attack. Both of them like to step in, actually, and catch everyone out with a counter-attack.
Zhang certainly seemed to be at his best in the earlier rounds when he wasn't sitting back and he was having almost like a bit of fun with it and moving a lot around the piece rather than just stepping back and letting his opponent come onto.
Yeah, perhaps he's just sort of settling into it now and he's just kind of finding his way. And oh, lovely. Look at that. We were talking about these really fast, sudden, explosive attacks, and there's nothing better in fencing. You've got to take your opponent by surprise so they have no time to react, and the ball's completely in your court. You're in complete control of when you want to attack. Fantastic to see. Again, another flying attack, this time off target. Oh, he walked into that, didn't he?
Yeah, and just a little acknowledgement from Zhang as well with the strike from his opponent, Jie Wu.
Yeah, needs to be careful being caught in preparation. This is where you really need to sit down now and focus on every hit. It's 2 more, and quite often these last couple of hits are just the hardest hits to get. It's right on the back line now.
A little surprised Jie Wu didn't try and press the advantage a little there. A bit more comfortable further back in the piece.
That was a very nice beat attack there, just taking his opponent by surprise. Shame it wasn't on. Yeah, attack's good from the right.
Just one more point needed then.
Oh. Yeah, so what happened here was first attack from Zhang was no, and his opponent got the remise, and then Zhang remised back again. So in fact it was a hit to the left, so he missed his first attack. This time it's attack all the way from the right, that's it.
Zhenggang Zhang makes it through to the final of the Commonwealth Men's Foil Competition. 15-10. We didn't quite go the full 9 minutes, very nearly, but it was again a pretty assured performance from him.
Yeah, I mean Zhang, he was in the lead pretty much all the way. Even if it was just by one hit, he always had that lead. And even though I suppose they were quite slow to work each other out because they're probably so used to fencing each other. And I'm sure he was conscious that if you say his coach, it was his coach, he's obviously very aware of every single move that he does, and his repertoire of moves as well. So that's probably why they were a little bit slow off the mark, but it is always difficult fencing your teammate.
We're just seeing the last few points here as well, and as I say, a little surprised that Jie Wu decided to keep moving back rather than maybe mix things up a little bit and try and narrow that gap.
Yeah, because and the attacks that he did do, he timed perfectly well, and I thought he had a very nice aggressive attack, but more often than not he did a couple of counterattacks which just weren't well enough timed, and Zhang got the timing right, and he's got his place in the final, which is fantastic.